One of the smartest things I've ever learned about kids started out as sheer nonsense. I had looked at a piece of research where some man had taken some worms and he had trained these worms in a box, in a device that looked like a T. He had trained these worms to crawl up to this point in the T where the worm was to make a decision, turn left or turn right. And he trained that worm to turn left. I guess the way he did it was to put some soft, gooey mush on one side and put electric wires in the floor on the other, so that if the worm turned the wrong way, he just sizzled him a little bit. Then guess what? They cut the worm in two, and he didn't die. There's a certain type of worm that now becomes two worms, the worm that used to be the top part of the worm and the worm that used to be the other end of the worm. Interesting question. What would happen if you put the other end of the worm into this device? Would he also turn left? Because if he did, said one of my friends, we'll have to change our ideas about where the seat of learning really is. I said, well, you listen to me talk long enough and you'll discover the seat of learning. Well, we started with that research about learning and said, gee, that seems so crazy, but what could you learn from that? And as we talked about what we know about learning, someone said, well, there must be something that's common to all learning, good old common sense. And one of the common sense things we found was not true is that, well, most kids are alike. They are, but they're not. Let me tell you this one little thing. Did you know that research has found that even before you're born, kids respond differently to noise? Yes, sir. We now know that kids are different in what they hear and don't hear before they're born. Did you know that before they're born, there's a difference in how much kids move and need to move? Did you know that before you're born, there's a difference in what you do about shifts of position and pressure and changes and getting comfortable? Now, if that's true before we're born, why would it be any different after we're born? Each kid in any family is different from every other one. And while we're not going to cut him in two to try to find out where his seat of learning is, we can be sure of this. Each one will learn just a little differently from the others. And none of the three things I've mentioned to you is related to intelligence or IQ. We're different in how we live and how we learn. So we have a right to be treated differently, even in our own family.